Hello everyone, it's Greenville Car Reviews, and I do hope you enjoyed that little cinematic thing. This is the 2022 BKM eProton review. So now before I get started, click that like button, subscribe button, turn notifications so you know when I post new videos. Make sure you're in the Discord below. We'll be able to post your own YouTube videos, post your own YouTube channels, promote it, talk to me in chat, suggest videos, ideas, or any of that fun stuff. So this is going to be going over the entire review of the 2022 BKM eProton M60 KD line trim. There was also the signature KD line trim, but I didn't get that. I got the M60, so this is what this review all about. I really do hope you enjoy, but let's not get hogged up in this intro and let's get straight onto it. Roll the intro. To start off this review, we'll be looking at the new side of the BKM. I actually want to point out this pink that is covering the vehicle. This particular trim is the M60 KD line trim, which actually went off sale as a limited time trim secretly. I wanted to point out the doors, which aren't like any other ordinary door. When you go up to get in the car, you will actually see there is no physical door handle. Instead, there is this hole cut out inside the door and a small button where you would press that would open the door normally from there. Now, going from there, we're going to talk about some of the stats. This vehicle has 5 seats and weighs about 3,559 pounds in the game, which to its IRL counterpart is being very generous with the real car, weighing in at 5,659 pounds. The color in which you are seeing is called Alpine White. The eProton has 9 vehicle colors to choose from. The BKM eProton starts at $83,200. But the trim that you're seeing here is actually going to be $145,000. And compared to its IRL counterpart, they are both the same, both starting at $83,200 MSRP. So let's move on to a little hidden Easter egg inside the vehicle where, as you know, there were some other special things, but the actual name of this car was the 2022 BKM Squeen. It was German, but it actually was changed, but the reference actually did mean pig in German. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing. So let's move on to the front. Now we could talk about the front, which is receiving a lot of hate among car people, YouTubers, and the general public. This is due to its very, very large grille, which to its credit shows a big statement, but isn't very practical as this is an all-electric vehicle and it looks really, really silly. Some key things I do like about the eProton are the big triangle fin-shaped intakes, which you can only find on other trims, but not the base. And actually, the names of the trims are the Shadow Line, which is the base model, Signature Blue, Sport Copper, M60 Copper, M60 M Sport. In total, 6 trims and 7 rim options to add. The lighting is pretty dang good, but we can actually look at that a bit later in the video. Now, this vehicle is all-wheel drive, so it is a dual motor setup, giving it a total of 350 in-game horsepower with a range of 348 miles. The top speed is 150 miles an hour. The IRL version has 516 horsepower compared to the Model X rival, which is a bit more expensive. It actually outperforms it by a lot. The Model X in-game only having 230 horsepower in the game and very heavy at around 5,000 pounds. But it also does have a top speed advantage of 162 miles an hour. Now, finally, compared to the IRL counterpart, the BMW actually does worse due to the Model X outperforming the BMW by a considerable margin, with the Model X having 670 to over 1,000 horsepower, but also the Model X is over $100,000 in real life, so it is justified. The BMW is cheaper and it has some advantages over the Model X, which the Model X does not. So let's move on to the back. Now finally cutting to the back where there are some interesting design choices here. For example, recently car makers like BKM and Tuscany, or BMW and Hyundai, have actually been making clear braking lights. These were very popular back in the modding community, it's popular now, and even some old cars actually have it, but it looks like they're finally coming back in style for the futuristic type. As well, I also like to add, I really adore the simplicity of the back of the vehicle. Now, I really like the thick black strips, as well as a very straightforward, very simple design that the BKM has on the back. General design, it looks very, very nice, and I'm glad this vehicle is styled like this. But anyways, let's move on to the next category. And the next category is actually going to be the driving portion. So without further ado, let's hop straight into it. I will say I did lower the graphics of Roblox for a bit for your entertainment purposes so it doesn't lag a little bit. But anyways, here I want you to actually hear the startup to this vehicle, as it is a pretty cool one. So let's just take a listen. Yeah, pretty cool. So now that we're actually going to be driving off, if I can actually turn on the car, there we go. It's not bad, you know. I was press driving this car for a few days, you know, driving in my own VIP servers, a few sessions that I got allowed to drive it in. You know, it's not that bad, honestly. Lighting is pretty good. It definitely turns some heads, especially if you have like blacklisted roles. If you have like a blacklisted exempt role or BVE role and you can drive this car, it definitely gives some looks. As the vehicle isn't that bad. And honestly, it's not bad, even for its looks. As I run out of gas here, this is actually perfect thing for me to cut the video, and I'll get back to you when I fill up my vehicle, because electric cars take a while to fill. And I am back. As you can see, it is now nighttime, but the BMW is all filled up, so let's get back and look at my review. So as I was saying before, this vehicle is not bad. Now, it is quite ugly. The looks, I would rate it 1 out of 10, or maybe a 2 out of 10, which is being generous. It is still a very terrible looking car. The back of it looks pretty nice, especially at daytime and nighttime. It's not bad. Definitely turns, as I said before, but that's not what you want. I want to hear about driving. As you can see, as I swerve in and out of these, it's not bad. It has barely to any little understeer or even oversteer for that matter. I'm able to just quickly fly around these bends. Oh, jeez, very, very, very efficiently. Acceleration is not bad, so as I'm at this red light here, I'm gonna just slam on the brakes, put it in neutral for whatever revving, and we can go. So there's no sport mode in electric cars, but as you can see, right after 40 miles an hour, this thing just takes off. Like, there's no question about it. It just takes off, and we're good from there. Top speed is around 149 or 147 from what I tested. That's the speeds that I got. So again, not very good. I mean, not very bad in terms of electric cars. Again, some cars go faster, but for an SUV, it's not that bad. Slamming on the brakes from top speed essentially to 0, it does incredibly. So I would rate these 5 out of 10. 5 out of 5 on brakes any day, because these are like supercar territory brakes for a very, very good car. I mean, granted, this thing is over $100,000, which is on par with a Tesla Model X, which I will get into on my final review of this vehicle, so stay tuned in the video. But overall, this vehicle is a pretty good thing to drive. It is very capable, very fun to drive, and I don't really have any complaints about it. So let's go on to the next one. Alrighty, next is the AEB test, where I'll be setting the vehicle to 60 miles an hour, and then today we're going to be going over the car one. So we'll be cruising at 60 miles an hour, the driver's not paying attention, and the AEB goes off. So as you can see, decent spacing when coming to a complete stop now as we jump out. Again, plenty of space. You can actually walk through the space. It's not as bad. Again, some cars do better, but the BMW does pretty good. Has that classic BMW chime as well. This one is the pedestrian test, so again, setting the car to 60 miles an hour, and the sun is actually blocking the driver's view, so they can't see anything, but you see the little bacon man that's sitting right there, and AEB goes off. Now that the one AEB goes off, as I turn it off because it's annoying, it's touching, essentially. It essentially fails. Maybe it's like a 1 out of 5 in terms of the AEB scale. It touches the pedestrian. It is definitely not what AEB is supposed to do, but let's move on to the next category. And this is going to be the braking part of the video. So if you don't know what this is, essentially it is where I test from 60 to 0 and from top speed to 0, and we're going to see from this combined to how it does on the GCR score. So let me just run with you a few things. So you see that line right there. As soon as the car passes that line from 60 miles an hour, I will instantly brake. My graphics will be as low as possible so I can get the best non-lag, get the best braking. And then with the other line there, where the light pole is, actually is where the top speed to 0 is. So right after I pass that pole is where I will slam on the brakes. Again, low distance, low everything, so that I can get the best graphics and the best non-lag, and then we'll see where that ends up, and then I make a total score at the end of the video. So let's get straight onto it. Alrighty, so we're going to set the cruise control to 60 miles an hour, and here we go. So right after we pass this line is where I slam on the brakes, and boom, slamming and stop. We jump out of the car, and you can actually see that it does pretty well. It just right after passes this line, it is right equal to that bush. Spacing is not bad. It is actually pretty decent with almost any other vehicle that I reviewed like this, and it does pretty well. On to the top speed to 0. And this is the top speed to 0 test, so we're gonna just mash on the accelerator. And while we're actually going here, I want to plug in a few things. Make sure you join the Instagram, make sure you join the Twitter, make sure you join the Discord, make sure you sub to the channel, and all the other stuff will be in the description under social links. So you go ahead and check all those out. You'll be able to see sneak peeks from me or from other things that I post. So even if it's not directly channel related, you will see it. We're actually coming up to the stop now. So as soon as we pass the pole, braking, brake, stopping right before the line. So right before this pole right here is where it stopped, and you actually look, that's not bad distancing. In all honesty, if the pole's right there within viewing distance, so we stopped right here, this is better than most supercars at this point. I mean, considerably they go faster, but for an SUV, it carries its brakes pretty dang good. I personally love this car when it comes to braking, but looks, we can talk about that later. Anyways, let's move on to the next category. Alrighty, so this is the lighting review. So this is the next category, and right here, these little areas that you see like arrows are actually DLR, so those are daytime running lights. They are full LED whites. Come to the back of the vehicle, as you can see, these have clear tail lights. So like I talked about in the review video a little bit earlier in the video, as you can see, these are clear tail lights. They are completely empty, but as we go to the night, now that it is nighttime, you can actually see the entire lighting thing. So I put on the reverse lights, and it's this little tiny little LED light down there along with the reflectors. You can barely notice it. Over here are the full-fledged LED lights. You can see the full strip of orange right there, and these actual red taillights are your brake lights, and then you have a third brake light right up there. As we move to the front of the car, you actually see that the DLRs actually become your blinkers, and you also have blinkers on your mirrors as well. Overall, lighting wise, they also have these reflectors, little light side lighting on the side here and on the back side as well, all the way over there. So honestly, they're not bad vehicles. I really like the lighting on this vehicle. Let's move on to the next thing. Now, here is the ending of the video where I wrap up this car review, give my personal opinions, and the GCR score. If you don't know what that is essentially where I give this vehicle in different categories stars, and I total it up at the end to give it a final GCR score. So, let's get on straight into the GCR score. To start off, the speed and acceleration portion, we get a solid 4 out of 5 star rating, and this is pretty quick. Next is the braking, which earns a solid 5 out of 5 rating. It deserves it due to its high-end braking. For a vehicle over 4,000 pounds, it stops very well. After that is going to be the drivability, which earns a good 3 out of 5 stars. It is, for its mobility, it's pretty good being an SUV, not the best, not the worst. But after that is the horsepower, which earns another good 3 out of 5 stars. Now, this is the electric car segment, so this category will differ for each type of vehicle. Anywho, the looks, which earns a 2 out of 5 stars very respectively, as it's a horrible looking car. Honestly, its kidney, air quote, grill doesn't really need it. It's an electric car. I don't know why. It looks like a fashion statement, but it's not really a very good looking fashion statement. After that is going to be the AEB score. It's actually a 3 out of 5 rating, as it doesn't do too poorly in it. It essentially completely failed the AEB test with it essentially hitting the vacant pedestrian, but it's actually not bad when it comes to actually braking in time for vehicles on the road. So next is the roleplay score. So this is where I go ahead and review this vehicle based on how good it's roleplay, if it's banned in a lot of Discord roleplay servers, and any other stuff like that. Trims, availability, that kind of stuff that you would focus on in roleplay. So first is going to be the availability of it being unbanned within servers, and it does really poorly with a 2 out of 5 star rating, as I could not find hardly any servers that didn't outright ban it, blacklist it, or slot exempt it. So it was really hard to find. I only found a few tiny servers that actually did let you drive this normally, so it earns a 2 out of 5 stars. Next is how well it roleplays, which it does very well, which is 3 out of 5 stars, with it not being too realistic in sessions and roleplays. Finally is the trims and other styles. So essentially these are the options that come with the vehicle, and it does pretty good with a 4 out of 5 star rating, which is pretty well, especially for it being an SUV, as you know, some of them don't have a lot of options. It has a lot of trims and a lot of good-ish rims too, within a lot of colors too, so there's a lot of variety choices. Again, the Katie line trim was discontinued, but that is still good. The final GCR score to add it all up is 29 out of 45, which places it here among the very empty chart that I will slowly gradually fill as this YouTube channel reviews more vehicles. So I really do hope you enjoyed that. So let's get on with my final thoughts in the actual ending of the video. And this is my final thoughts and review of the vehicle. So this is where I essentially give my ultimatum on the vehicle, whether you should buy this or not. Again, this is just my personal opinion, depending on what everyone thinks. So you could take this as you will. You don't have to listen to me. But let's get straight on to it. So the 2022 BKM eProton or the 2022 BMW iX is an amazing alternative to the Tesla Model X, all the generations of the Model X. This is brand new off the market. It is towards like more of a luxury brand, but it is really, really sporty. If you don't like Tesla, don't support it, or you don't want something as bland or simple as a Tesla, go get a BMW iX. It is an amazing vehicle with tons of cool features. It has especially the pig horn as well. It has a lot of cool stuff. Now, there are some downsides. This trim that I have here is over $100,000, but the most expensive you can get of this vehicle is around $109,000, which is considerably less than the Model X, which goes over $150,000. So it is pretty good, and they're both very equal. If you want to see me drag race both of them or give a more deep comparison in between the two, go ahead and drop a like button. Actually, tell me in the comments if you want to see them. But my ultimatum is that this vehicle is a great alternative to the Tesla Model X, and maybe even not a killer of it, but is definitely one that people will consider buying other than a Model X. And this was my review on the new BMW SUV. I'm signing off. Everyone have a good day. Goodbye.